Good morning. It's a fine day in the neighborhood, as Mr. Rogers would say. Guess what we're doing today? We're going to cook some fatback gravy and biscuits. This is an old term, fatback, but this is side meat, pork side meat if you want to look at it. It's like bacon, only it's salt cured instead of sugar cured. I'm going to turn the oven on and I'll be right back. Alright, I'm turning the oven on 500. What? 500? Yep, you heard me right, 500. That's what I cook my biscuits on. And we're going to do something different today that most people don't do. We're going to cook our meat in the oven. We're going to cut it in little squares and cubes and put it in the oven. I take this pack here. See, you can see. Let me get it open and you can see. See this? A lot of people call it streaky meat, because it's not just fat pork, but it's got some lean in it. I always take and cut it into about 5 strips. Then I'll half it. And half it. It's pretty tough, but it's easy to get to once you half it. Then we take this and we put it in our little iron frying skillet. We just go all around and fill the pan up. See how lean it is? Sometimes you really won't get enough grease out of this to make you gravy, so you have to add like a tablespoon or 2 of oil. But hopefully this will make enough today. See there, that's got a little fat on it. The fat, this gives gravy such a good taste. A lot of people use, they fry steak or chicken and they use that grease to make gravy. Some people put a little oil in the pan or a little butter and make their gravy, but it don't have as good a taste as if you cook meat like sausage or bacon. You can take bacon, fry it and use that grease. But this fatback makes such a good tasting gravy. I have a little lock and lock here that I keep my meat in when I'm ready, till I'm ready to use it again. It keeps it so fresh, and some of it that I've had, look how lean it is. It's got a lot of lean to it. But you close it up, it'll keep in your refrigerator for a long time, and you can use it over and over. When you're cooking green beans, put you 2 or 3 pieces in it. Or dried beans, put you 2 or 3 pieces. It really seasons it well. The oven is hot, and I'm going to stick it in here. I'm sorry the light's not on, but it's burned out. We'll be back and look at it in just a second. While our fatback's cooking, I'm going to do some biscuits. I decided to do 3 cups of flour today. You see that pan? That's the one that we're going to use. This is my bread tray. This is the pan we're going to use. Let me tell you something about this. This is a cup of Crisco. It's a Crisco stick. If you want to make, you can divide this. Let me get my knife and I'll show you the easy way to do it. You see, you can divide this into 4 parts. That's 2 parts. This would be 3 parts. You know, you can divide it 4. Like 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And each part makes 1 cup of biscuits. 1 cup of flour, excuse me. So I'm doing 3 cups. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. What this amounts to is 3/4 cup of shortening. And I don't have to put my hands in it to measure it, but I just have this stick. I've cleansed my hands after dealing with the meat a while ago. So now I'm just going to work this in here. Just mash it around with the flour. Just incorporate it, you know, make it in little, mash it to where it's just little pieces of shortening. Oops, I'm getting it everywhere. Just stir it around. Now I can just make it, my biscuits the old-timey way, in that little pan there, like my mama did. But because you friends who are watching want to know sort of the measurements, so I'm just measuring it out for you. Same process either way. You see how the Crisco is breaking up into little pieces? Now you can use butter. If you don't want to use all Crisco, you can use a little bit of butter and a little bit of Crisco. You can actually buy butter flavored Crisco. But this seems to work well for me, so that's what I'm doing. I'm now going to spray the pan that we're going to use with pan spray. And the buttermilk I'm going to start off with 1 cup. I've already shaken it. Whoops! Boy, did I shake it. Oh, gosh. Don't you wish you were here in this mess? Had the lid off is what happened. I'm starting off with a cup of milk. And you just start moving it around, mixing it up. I'm probably going to end up with a cup and a half because I don't usually do. That's another half cup. You just want enough to make it go together good. I can tell it's a little dry. Now for 3 cups I used a cup and a half of milk. And I'm going to use, I might as well use the rest of that milk. I was going to get a little water. But this is like not quite a 1/4 of a cup. See how it comes together and you just squeeze it with your hand to combine it? Alright, it's still a little stiff, so what I'm going to do is take just a drop of water to rinse my cup out. You see, I'm just rinsing out my cup. So add whatever you need to add to make it the right consistency. See how it's squeezing now? That's much better. Alright, I'm going to clean my hands and then I'm going to wash them and then we'll be right back to roll them out, okay? In between, check your meat to see how it's doing. Hold on, let me pull it out and let you look. It's almost done. Look at it. See that? Now if you want to take a fork, flip it over, you can. But just keep an eye on it, you don't want it to burn. I decided to go ahead and flip the meat over. Some of it's almost done, see? Especially if you see one that looks like it's still got a lot of lean on it, fat on it.
Got that char on it.
See there how it's doing? Alright, we'll be right back when it gets through. I'll show you. Alright, let's look at our meat. See? It's done. I had a fork. Here it is. And you just take your meat up like this. See, it's like bacon, but it's salt cured instead of sugar cured. And you can see it had hardly no grease in it, so I'm going to have to add grease to make our gravy. But what's in there will make it taste so, so good. Look at it. Don't that look good? Look at this. There's not a whole lot of grease, see? So I'm going to have to add some in a little bit. But in the meantime, let's do our biscuits. I keep a little thing full of self-rising, by the way, that is self-rising flour. And I keep some in a little pan so that when I'm doing biscuits, or when I'm thickening something, or flouring something, I just pull this little thing out instead of the other one. If you don't have one of these pastry scrapers, they're really nice. Hopefully you have one. Sprinkle some flour on the outside. Get it on your hands and then just start rolling it around a little bit because you want it not to be sticky. Press it down, fold it one time, press it down, fold it again, press it down, one more time, and I'm going to put some flour under it so it won't stick when we're starting to cut our biscuits. Just press it down. You can do it with a rolling pin if you'd rather, but we're just going to cut it. I mean, bash it with my hands, in other words. Take your cutter, go to the edge, go to the edge, a lot of people start cutting biscuits and they'll go here to start with. Well, look what you're wasting. Go to the edge, go as far as you can up, so you don't have a lot of space between them. Make sure your biscuits touch like that, because that'll help them to rise straight up. I'm going to have to put it back together. See, it's not sticky. I think there's probably about a 1/2 inch there, don't you think? Dip it in your flour in between so it won't stick. You can just roll them like this, what's left. This is the way we used to do it when I was growing up. Then you take the back of your hand, put it in flour, and then go. All the little fingerprints on there is what my mom always taught me to do. That's the way she did. All right, in the oven they go. As you can see, this pan doesn't have enough grease. We're going to make our gravy. I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons at least of oil. May need more, but we'll start with 2. Remember I told you to save this little thing here where you're making gravy? And you put at least 2 tablespoons in here. Brian, this is for you. Your mom said you wanted to learn how to make this gravy. So when you start to make it, I can see right now there's still not enough oil in there. So I'm going to end up putting another tablespoon. So I put 3 tablespoons of oil and 3 tablespoons. I don't think I put but 2 tablespoons of flour so far. You just want to eyeball it and see how much oil that you have or grease. And see, it's beginning to look better. And you cook this until it turns a light brown. I only put 2 tablespoons of flour, so now I'm going to put a little bit more. That makes 3 tablespoons. You put enough flour to sort of make a paste, which is really a roux, like a R-O-U-X. And see, it's like a paste. And you cook it till it gets that light color brown. Then we're going to put some. Now you can make gravy just with water. You don't have to use milk. You can use milk. You can use evaporated milk. Or you can use just water. But I like to use evaporated milk and water. I think it makes the gravy taste richer if you use some of the evaporated milk. When it gets brown enough, we'll add a half a can of milk and 2 cups of water and see what happens. Now let's see. A lot of people say, what do you call this gravy? Well, some people call it white gravy. Some people call it country gravy. Some people call it cream gravy. As a matter of fact, in Texas, that's what they call it, it's cream gravy. Sawmill gravy, 2-horse gravy, strickety meat gravy, fatback gravy. We're making fatback gravy. My dad sometimes, I think, used to say 2-horse gravy or some sawmill gravy. I think he said 2-horse. He'd call me, he'd say, what you doing? I said, well, I'm doing this, doing that. He says, why don't you come up here and say, we'll knock an egg in the head and have breakfast. I said, okay, I'll be right there. I miss those days. You can go ahead and add a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. Later on we'll taste it to see if I put enough. And if I didn't, then we'll add more. Shirley in Canada, our friend, and Kathy, I'm not sure, Kathy, where you're from, but anyway, this is a video I hope you'll enjoy and that you'll try. And if you can't find the fatback there, Shirley, you can just fry you a piece of chicken or a piece of cube steak, or you can use bacon to make your grease. You just want to give the grease some flavor before you make your gravy, okay? Alright, when it gets brown, we'll be right back.
We're looking good, but not quite ready.
Alright, I think our roux is about brown enough, see? I'm going to put 2 cups of water. Now, you know, you might have to add more water. I'm going to put a half a can of evaporated milk. I'm just going to eyeball it. I think that's about right. And we'll let this continue to get thick. Just stir with your whisk or whisk it. You know, some people just use butter or oil to make their gravy, but it doesn't have that rich flavor like if you cook some kind of meat. You know, have some of those particles on the bottom of your pan. It really makes it taste better. Alright, I'll be back when I'll show you when it thickens. See how pretty they are? You don't want to get them too brown because that way if you have some left you can reheat them later and enjoy them. I don't know how long we cooked them. Alright, I'm going to take a little taste to see if I need to add salt. It needs a little bit more salt. Tasting good though. Just sprinkle a little bit. A little bit more pepper. See how thick it's getting? So I'm probably going to end up adding a little more water. See there how quickly it got thick? I'm adding about a cup of water. See, when you first saw that, you didn't think it would take that much water, but it does. And like I said, some people do all water. They don't put any milk. But I like that richness of the canned milk or regular sweet milk in the refrigerator. Now that's done. It's thick, creamy. It will get a little thicker as it sets, so that's why you don't want it too thick when you take it up. Now, Matthew likes to put smoked paprika, seasoning salt. He tries to up the taste, the flavor a little bit, but today we just made it simple. And now we're going to do some scrambled eggs with cheese, because that's what we decided we wanted. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of olive oil, not much, and just a little tad of butter. Maybe a tablespoon. You really don't have to put that much, but we'll put it in. No, that's a little much. Let's just do a little bit of butter. Turn it down a little bit. And I've got 6 eggs here. And I'm going to whip them. I'm going to put about, I don't know, a tablespoon of water to make it light and fluffy. Put some salt, pepper. I'm holding my pan up because I don't want it to get too hot before I get the eggs in there. The more you whip them, the lighter they'll be. Now I've got to wash out my bowl so we can put them back in there. As it begins to cook, just push it to the side. Got to turn it back up. It's not quite as hot as I wanted it to be. See how it's beginning to cook on the bottom? I have a robot vacuuming the floor. Do you hear it? He's all over my feet right now. I'm taking that little dab of butter that I had left over and putting it on top of the biscuits. Don't that look good? Can't wait. Just took it. See, it's almost done. See it, how it's drying out on the bottom? Just another minute or two and it's ready. I'm going to sprinkle some cheese on it so it'll incorporate and melt. Don't that look good? I like mine done. I don't like them running. I don't know how you are. Do it the way you like it. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Now, if you want to garnish it with a little bit more cheese, you can. Here's the biscuit. I'm going to open it up. See how nicely it stays together? Then I'm going to put gravy on it. I'm going to put lots of gravy. I love gravy on biscuit. And this is, give me that pepper. I like to put a little pepper on top. You know what's good with this? Sliced cantaloupe, sliced tomatoes. I just don't have the cantaloupe this morning. I do have tomatoes, but we've got so much I'm just not going to cut them. It's really good with a gravy biscuit.
All right, we'll give it a run here. We've got our biscuit, fatback, our gravy.
Let's look at it again before you take it
and
out.
cheese eggs.
How did you put your fatback?
I just laid one on there.
And then put your gravy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whatever suits you.
That's right. Good gravy, that's delicious. Hope y'all enjoy it. Try it at home.
Yay! Try it soon. I really made this recipe for my great nephew, Brian. Nine. By the way, he is a great nephew. But Brian, you'll be able to make this now. If you have any questions, just call me. Love you.